Good morning. I'm kindly asking all of our guests to take seats at this time as we are about to start the proceedings. I'm also asking that all telephones be either turned off or placed on silent. Thank you.
The Honourable Justice Mabel Adjumang, the Honourable Justice Michelle Arana, OBE, Acting Chief Justice of Belize, the Honourable Justice Ivor Archie, ORTT, Chief Justice of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honourable Justice Sir Patterson Cheltenham, KA, Chief Justice of Barbados, the Honourable Justice Yonette Cummings Edwards, Acting Chancellor of the Judiciary of Guyana, the Honourable Justice Narinder Harvan, Chief Justice of Bermuda, the Honourable Justice Adrian Saunders, President of the Caribbean Court of Justice, the Honourable Justice Ian Winder, Chief Justice Designate of the Bahamas, the 6 accompanying spouses of our cadre of heads of judiciaries, His Excellency the Acting Governor, Mr. Franz Manderson, MBE, Cert On, JP, the Honourable Makiva Bush, OBE, JP, Speaker of the House of Parliament, the Honourable G. Wayne Panton, Premier, the Reverend Dr. Yvette Noble Bloomfield, Regional Deputy General Secretary of the United Church in Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, the Honourable Sir Anthony Smelly, KCMG, QC, Chief Justice of the Cayman Islands and Lady Smelly, Sir Alden McLaughlin, KCMG, MBE, Member of Parliament and former Premier, the Honourable Acting Deputy Governor, Miss Jennifer Ahern, the Honourable Mr. Chris Saunders, Deputy Premier, the Honourable Members of the Cabinet of the Cayman Islands Government, the Honourable Attorney General, Mr. Sam Bolgin, JP, QC, the Honourable Roy McTaggart, Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Joey Hugh, Deputy Leader of the Opposition, the Honourable Members of the Cayman Judiciary, Cayman Islands Government Chief Officers and Heads of Departments, members of the Cayman Islands Legal Practitioners Association and other members of the legal fraternity, other special guests, senior staff of the Judicial Administration, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to the Ritz Carlton Ballroom for the opening ceremony of the Conference of CARICOM Chief Justices and Heads of Judiciaries. This is the second time that the Cayman Islands and the Honourable Chief Justice Sir Anthony Smelly QC have hosted this auspicious event, the first having taken place back in 2007. Notably, 9 heads of judiciary will be in attendance at this year's conference. This includes the Honourable Justice Brian Sykes, OJ, Chief Justice of Jamaica, who is unable to attend this morning's proceedings, but I'm told will be joining the conference this afternoon. Particular mention should be made of Chief Justice Designate Winder, who will be a brand new appointee and whose swearing in will take place in a little over a week's time on August the 5th. We are delighted that he has made it a priority to be with us as he prepares to take office, signalling the importance that he attaches to this conference. We also acknowledge Sir Brian Marie, the outgoing Chief Justice of the Bahamas, who has diligently liaised with our conference secretariat to ensure the presence of Chief Justice Designate Winder today. We send our best wishes to Sir Brian as he begins a new phase of his life following his retirement from his role of Chief Justice on August the 4th. The following heads of judiciary are regrettably unable to attend this year's conference. President, the Honourable Ritz J. de Court, Chief Justice of the Netherlands, Antilles and Aruba, who sends his apologies. President de Court has recently been appointed Chief Justice and for this reason is regrettably unable to join the conference. The Honourable Justice Dame Janice M. Piera, DBE, LLD, Chief Justice of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, who extends her regret due to unforeseen circumstances at not being able to be present at this year's conference. As Chief Justice of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States Supreme Court, Dame Janice is head of judiciary for 9 member states of the OECS, all of which are either full or associate members of CARICOM. As chair of the last meeting, Dame Janice was closely involved in the planning for this conference and will be kept fully informed of the discussions which take place at these meetings. We have also received regrets from the Honourable Justice Ewan Rasselbachs, President of the Court of Justice, Suriname. Suriname had been represented at the 2019 conference, and we very much regret that the Honourable Justice Rasselbachs has been unable to join us on this occasion. Also sending their regrets are the Right Honourable Sir Dennis Byron, former President of the Caribbean Court of Justice and former Chief Justice of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, and Lady Byron. Haiti is a member of CARICOM and was invited to attend the conference, but unfortunately the unsettled state of Haiti at the moment made communication difficult. We're very pleased to have with us the Honourable Justice Saunders, the President of the Caribbean Court of Justice. Notably, the CCJ is both a court of original jurisdiction for resolution of disputes between CARICOM member states or associate states, and an appellate court of final appeal for Barbados, Guyana, Dominica, and Belize. St. Lucia is in the process of accession to the court in its appellate jurisdiction. We take the opportunity to thank President Saunders, who's been a stalwart supporter of the conferences, including this one. Accordingly, the conference will represent the interests of all 9 OECS member states, with all CARICOM member states personally represented, apart from Haiti, Suriname, the Netherlands Antilles, and Aruba. Associate member states of CARICOM are also represented, including Bermuda, TCI, and of course, Cayman. We are very fortunate to have with us this morning both the Acting Governor, the Honourable Mr. Frans Manderson, MBE, Cert on JP, and the Honourable G. Wayne Panton, JP, Premier of the Cayman Islands, each of whom will be making welcome remarks this morning. Following which, the conference chair, the Honourable Sir Anthony Smellie, KCMG QC, Chief Justice of the Cayman Islands, will address us and introduce the conference theme, which, as you know, is administering justice by use of information technology, building on COVID-19 experiences. Following Sir Anthony's remarks, we will be entertained by the wonderful Swanky Kitchen Band. I will shortly be calling upon the Reverend Dr. Yvette Noble Bloomfield to lead us in prayer, and immediately thereafter, young Caymanian rising talent, Mr. Alec Nicholson, will sing the national anthem. Reverend Dr. Yvette Noble Bloomfield has previously served the United Church in Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, and since 2015, she has been serving as the Regional Deputy General Secretary of the Cayman Islands Regional Mission Council. Kindly all please be upstanding as I invite Reverend Dr. Yvette Noble Bloomfield to lead us in prayer.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we come before your sovereign presence in humility and awe. We pray that you would attend to us and hear our prayers on this new day. You are the defender of the weak, the vindicator of the oppressed, aid to those who are in need, and we place our hope and trust in you. We pray for your blessing upon the Chief Justices and heads of judiciaries and the countries they represent. May they continue to serve with dignity and uphold the tenets of truth and virtue. Help them to have the desire of the prophet Amos to let justice roll down like water and righteousness as an ever-flowing stream. Cause them, as they meet and consult together, to seek your face and fulfill your will for the betterment of the human condition in this era of the COVID-19 pandemic. Make them conscious, O God, that in this time, some parts of the world have fallen into thieves, into inequity, and for some people, hopelessness abounds. There are places and spaces steep in corruption, and daily people suffer because of the lack of justice. Continue to grant to Chief Justices and heads of judiciary wisdom and courage. May they lead in the struggle to alleviate the plight of those who suffer as a result of negligence or bureaucracy. May they earnestly seek to restore the ancient dignity of their fellow human beings through the use of technology. May this conference be meaningful and beneficial, not just for the participants, but for the countries and the peoples they represent, and for the cause of justice and righteousness. Bless each participant, O God, and may you signal to them the importance and goodness of their work, which is in the best interest of humanity and to the glory of your name. Amen.
Please remain upstanding whilst I invite Mr. Eric Nicholson to lead us in singing the national anthem, please. Please be seated. And I now invite the Honourable Acting Deputy Governor to provide his welcome remarks. Thank you.
Good morning. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to the Cayman Islands this very distinguished panel of jurists representing jurisdiction from across the length and breadth of our Caribbean region and Bermuda. I must give apologies for His Excellency the Governor, who is on a well-deserved vacation in the UK. He's asked me to wish you a most successful conference. I am delighted to learn that among the heads of judiciaries represented this morning is a newly designated Chief Justice of the Bahamas, the Honorable Justice Winder. Congratulations, Justice Winder. I wish you every success as you embark on this important new voyage. Prioritizing attendance only a few days before your swearing-in ceremony signals the importance with which you hold this conference. This occasion also offers me an opportunity to reflect on the value of these meetings. Regional judges, magistrates, registrars, and executive court administrators have already benefited from the Caribbean Association of Judicial Officers, known as CAJO, an outcome of the 2007 conference also held in Cayman. Large contingents from Cayman attended the 2011 and 2019 CAJO meetings in Nassau and Belize, respectively, and I'm advised that a Cayman contingent will be attending the CAJO meetings in October. While reflecting on these important influences, as acting governor, I take a moment to acknowledge the regard in which we in the Cayman Islands hold the administration of justice. I am inspired by the local, regional, and worldwide respect that the large local and regional representation gathered here this morning commands for their independence, courage, and competence. This actual and perceived reputation is critical, as upon it hinges the very security and prosperity of our islands and our people. Those distinctions and universal truths aside, however, the hosting of this conference in Cayman has other special significance, prime among which is the meeting's focus on the application of information technology to the administration of justice. I noted with interest that just earlier today, history was made in the UK as the public watched on live TV an English Crown Court judge pass sentence on a defendant in Old Bailey. Maybe we will now call it New Bailey. Let's see. The use of technology in this region and others have become imperative in the unprecedented pandemic that unfortunately cannot yet be said to be reliably relaxing its grip on our territories and around the rest of the world. As evidenced by the receptivity of our judicial captains here in Cayman, external consultants reported earlier this year that the criminal divisions of both the summary and the grand courts navigated into harbor at the end of 2021 with virtually no backlogs. That is to be commended. The sales boosting that successful journey employed rapid adaptation to the new era of remote hearings and have now been expanded in all divisions of the court. Our Chief Justice tells me that remote hearings are now seen as reliable and ready alternatives to in-person hearings when circumstances necessitate. This resilience and responsiveness of our judiciary to the needs of our local and international court users are most heartening. Indeed, it was critical to Cayman's business continuity in the international finance sector of our economy. Sir Anthony has given me the heads up that the necessary introduction of the Cayman's court e-filing and e-payment platforms that began in 2021 in the financial services and central civil divisions is now being completed in all divisions. Other transformative applications leading to the courts ultimately becoming a paperless and fully automated environment are to follow in 2023, an outstanding achievement. I take this opportunity to thank publicly and formally our hard-driving and inspiring Chief Justice. His leadership over the past 29 years as a judge, 24 plus as Chief Justice, has won him the respect and support of his colleagues, the administration, and the people of the Cayman Islands. As a young law enforcement officer, I had the distinct pleasure of working with the Chief Justice when he was a Crown Counsel. I am one of the many Caymanians who have been inspired by his passion for justice, his strong work ethic, and his progressive leadership. We are very proud, so very proud, that he has joined a very select trio of Caymanians to have been knighted by Queen Elizabeth. I congratulate and wish him well as he embarks on a new phase of his life. Finally, I extend a warm Caymanian welcome to the spouses of the visiting judiciary here today. Your behind-the-scenes roles and many sacrifices, many times unrecognized, contribute much to the well-being of the judicial administration in your respective territories. I hope that you will enjoy your time here with us and get to enjoy some of the many things that Cayman has to offer. And I wish the 11 heads of judiciaries representing the expanse of the Caribbean region another groundbreaking, gratifying, and unifying experience at this conference. I thank you.
Thank you, Acting Governor. I now invite the Honourable Premier, Mr. G. Wayne Panton, to kindly address us.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank Mr. Davies for doing such an excellent job establishing protocol, and to say how truly delighted I am to be able to join you here this morning to extend a very warm Caymanian welcome to everyone attending this CARICOM Chief Justices and Heads of Judiciaries Conference. A welcome as well, certainly, to the members of the judicial and legal fraternity who have taken time out of their busy schedules to spend some time with us. And of course, I join with HE, the acting governor, in welcoming, especially, or extending a special warm welcome to our visiting heads of judiciary and their very important backbones, their spouses. Without diminishing that welcome in any way, I feel compelled as well to extend a special welcome to the Honourable Justice Ivor Archie, who gave to the Cayman Islands the benefit of an earlier stage of his career as a Crown Counsel. And I certainly echo the words of the acting governor in welcoming everyone else. The presence of everyone here today offers an opportunity to celebrate the importance of the role of the judiciary as an independent pillar of government. I have no hesitation in affirming that our other two arms of government are certainly fully committed to respecting and protecting that inviolable independence. However, we must never forget that it is public perception of institutional independence, not just what we've written in the Constitution or backed up in laws, that is most vital to maintaining public confidence. A former Chief Justice of Australia, Sir Gerard Brennan, defined what is unique to the judiciary in this respect when he said, "The judiciary has not got, nor does it need, the power of the purse or the power of the sword to make the rule of law effective, provided the people whom we serve have confidence in the exercise in the power of judgment." And that confidence comes from both the actual and the perceived access to the courts. It is also grounded in the perception that justice is being meted out without fear or favor, affection or ill will, and regardless of one's place in society. For us here in the Cayman Islands, the entrenchment of the constitutional separation of powers is a relatively recent achievement. The separation of powers was only fully and finally constitutionally entrenched in Cayman with the 2016 constitutional amendment. It was only then that it was established that the executive branch had no disciplinary authority over the judiciary, except when acting upon the advice of the Judicial and Legal Services Commission. and only in cases of serious misconduct or inability to function. Any other disciplinary matter must be left to be resolved internally between the Chief Justice and the member of the judiciary involved. That was a moment of real alignment of public perceptions and the constitutionally prescribed independence of the judiciary. Meanwhile, as we travel through yet another point on the continuum of public perception, that of actual access to justice, a well-established judicial legal aid department announced earlier this year, and the launch of a fully staffed legal aid clinic will certainly go a long way to reinforce such ideals. Now, speaking not only as Premier, but as a lawyer myself, I appeal to my legal colleagues' greater shouldering of the legal aid weight, which will contribute much to enhancing public confidence in our legal and judicial systems. Fortunately, our now fortified continuum of public confidence is enhanced by initiatives such as this conference. The conference agenda shows that you're focused on the sustained advancement of the efficiency of the administration of justice, its accessibility to all sectors of society, and enhancing the professionalism and well-being of the judiciary. I have no doubt that you'll be exploring ways to utilize the technological advances to further enhance access to justice, a subject clearly our Chief Justice is very passionate about. As I wish you a successful conference, I leave you with a favorite biblical exhortation. Let us not become weary in doing good, for the proper time at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. As a final word, I thank all members of the Cayman Judiciary for their evident, extraordinary passion for their work. And as he readies himself for retirement later this year, I had my thanks to our Chief Justice for his dedication and hard work. I'm sure not for the last time, hopefully not for the last time. But having spent 24 years as Chief Justice and nearly 3 decades as a judge, his contribution will undoubtedly form a very significant and important aspect of Cayman's judicial history. I wish you a happy and rewarding retirement, Sir Anthony, and every success as you lead this conference on this occasion. And my very best wishes to all of our visiting judiciary as you embark on these 2 days of renewal, rejuvenation, and revisioning. Have a wonderful day, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Premier. I now invite our conference chair, Sir Anthony, to kindly address us on the theme of this conference for the next 2 days. Sir Anthony.
Good morning, all. Mr. Master of Ceremonies, allow me first to thank you for the splendid job you have done so far in getting this conference on the way. This is not your first time emceeing the HOJ's, if I might be allowed to use the acronym, the HOJ's conference, but it can hardly be said that your adroitness is due to practice, because the only other occasion was in 2007, 15 years ago. For me, it is all the more special sharing this platform with you, being very appreciative of our work together on the Legal Advisory Council, not only over the past 15 years since the HOJ's conference in 2007, but for fully another 15 years even before then. Mitch Davies has been a stalwart in his work in support of the Advisory Council. and of this conference, and indeed we thank him for his incomparable work as the director of our Truman Bodden Law School. Thank you, Mitch. The protocol having been very ably established by our Master of Ceremonies, I may proceed immediately to also thank His Excellency the Acting Governor and the Honorable Premier for being here with us this morning and for their very insightful, relevant, and encouraging remarks. Your very kind words about my stewardship as Chief Justice are very much appreciated, as are your expressions of support for the judiciary and administration of justice as a whole. It must not go without being said that such successes as we have managed to achieve would not have been possible without your support and that of successive governments over the years. Despite whatever challenges we have faced over the years, as I approach the end of my stewardship, it gives me great satisfaction to be able to say to the public we serve, in unison with your powerful comments this morning, Premier, that the relationship between the judiciary and the other branches of government, the executive and the parliament, rests upon a very solid foundation of mutual trust and respect. And the fact that you have both, yourself and the acting governor, taken the time to deliver your very thoughtful and supportive words to this gathering is itself testament, I believe, to that fact. We thank you and the acting governor both very much for being here. And it is, of course, my distinct honor and privilege to be able to welcome my fellow members of the Conference of Heads of Judiciaries and their spouses to Cayman for this year's meeting. For some of them, this will not be a first visit to Cayman, and for Chief Justice Archie in particular, I join with the Premier in saying that I trust that this is a bit of a homecoming for himself and for Mrs. Archie. Remembering their time here when he served as one of our most distinguished Solicitors General. For those who are visiting for the first time, I hope that the experience lives up to expectations. As you will have seen from the conference agenda, busy as it is, we have managed to set aside some time for some sightseeing and outdoor activities. I very much look forward to our time together over the next few days. It is, of course, important for the sake of public understanding that I take a moment to explain the reason for our meeting in fulfillment of the objectives of the Conference of Heads of Judiciary. The rationale begins with the objectives of the conference themselves. These are set out in its constitution and include the following: to provide a forum for the promotion of fellowship, understanding, and functional cooperation for the enhancement of the administration of justice within the jurisdiction of each member and associate member state. To examine judicial problems, whether of a national or regional nature, and to arrive at better solutions to them. To encourage, foster, and promote the development of Caribbean jurisprudence. The Constitution of the Conference has established such objectives because we accept and understand that the administration of justice is a constant work in progress, which will benefit from our ability regularly to consult together to address the problems which will arise and to share our collective experiences for the implementation of best practices. As you have heard, the theme for this year's meeting, Administering Justice by Use of Information Technology, Building on COVID-19 Experiences, is illustrative of how we seek to achieve the objectives of the conference, recognizing, as it does, the need to respond to the challenges of the times, while improving our ability to provide timely and effective access to justice. Indeed, the opportunity for advancements arising from our recent experiences has already been the subject of discussion at the 2021 HOJ's meeting. That meeting, the first to be convened remotely as a result of COVID restrictions then still in place, was itself an illustration of the adaptive technology, benefits of the technology. The various ways in which our jurisdictions responded to the need for remote hearings during the pandemic was the subject of discussions at that meeting. At this meeting, it is expected that we will be able to refine our thinking on how we might make remote hearings a permanent part of our procedures. So, for instance, as to allow parties to participate in court proceedings without having physically to attend at court. It will be obvious that if we can develop procedures to allow this without compromising the court's ability to control the proceeding and to enforce its orders, this will be of great benefit to persons in terms of the time and costs which would otherwise be expended in order to have access to justice. Both the acting governor and the Honorable Premier made mention of the progress the courts have made in Cayman with the use of technology. These are significant, and there are many more improvements to come. But Cayman is by no means unique in our region in that regard, and another aim of this meeting is to allow the HOJs to share our experiences in this area, hopefully with the result that all our jurisdictions will be better placed to know what technologies to adopt and which ones to avoid. Another important item on our agenda is the well-being of judicial and other court officers. While inordinate stress has always been an element of judicial life, the need to address it was also brought to the fore by the pandemic, which has had a near universal impact on the way people across the globe have been able to work and conduct their daily lives. The impact on judges was the subject of a survey and study undertaken by the CARICOM. In their report, CARICOM identified a number of variables which result in and impact the extraordinary pressures of judicial life. The report proceeds upon the assumption of what it describes as, quote, one poignant truth, unquote, which is that, I quote, the judicial officers engage a number of roles which require public accountability and transparency for very disciplined thinking, reasoning, and behavior. Their public personas allow little room for indiscretion, indulgence, or heaven forbid, hedonistic extravagance. In small Caribbean societies, even permissible professional error can be a cause of public ridicule or shame. What is therefore clear is that the work of a judicial officer is immense and expectations run incredibly deep, unquote. The report continues. Again, I quote, the ongoing global pandemic is one of the variables that has increased the pressure of judicial life for Caribbean heads of judiciary and judicial officers who are already tightrope walking above burnout, stress, and lack of resources. This tsunami of uncertainty, that is COVID-19, has complicated realities in unanticipated and perhaps unbearable ways. Forced to be immediately responsive to the changed face of the administration of justice, judicial officers have found themselves in unfamiliar territory, often with little time and space or resources to sufficiently process, engage healthy distance, and attend to the numerous other requirements of human living. And it concludes in its introduction, I quote, by recognizing that well-being is fundamentally connected to and connects all parts of our being, we not only ensure healthier judicial officers, but healthier systems that secure and promote equality, fairness, and justice. From a utilitarian perspective, well-being is directly linked to performance. And ethically, the well-being of judicial officers, of all judicial staff, is an imperative of judicial integrity, a core value that requires attention to the whole system." End quote. And so it is that we are required to turn attention to the subject of wellness as part of the conference agenda. Perhaps in the Cayman context, I'm pleased to observe, simply following the lead which has already been set by government for all other public servants by way of the Portfolio of Public Services 2022 to 2023 Wellness Committee Plan, initiated by none other than the acting governor in his capacity as head of the public service. I will not take more of your valuable time this morning to explain the agenda for our meeting. Suffice it for the moment to say that the agenda, along with a report of the meeting, will be published, and the press will have the opportunity, on behalf of the wider public, to ask questions about any aspect of the report. Our meeting must, of course, be conducted in closed session to allow for the kind of frank and open exchanges which will allow us to achieve meaningful outcomes, despite the short time available. This is all the more reason why the constitution of the conference requires that a press release on each occasion of a meeting must be published in each of our member states. So in closing, allow me to thank you all for taking the time to attend this opening ceremony. We regard your presence as affirmation of the importance of the conference and of the matters to be addressed. Finally, please allow me to take a moment to thank our hardworking members of staff of the Judicial Administration and others, such as the staff of the Government Information Services and here at the Ritz Carlton, who have supported them in the hard work needed for the preparations for this meeting. I especially thank our Court Administrator, Mrs. Boswell, for her support and guidance given to the team, and Ms. Pat Ebanks, our conference organizer extraordinaire, with whom I've had the pleasure of working not only for this meeting of the conference, but also for that which we hosted 15 years ago in 2007. Thank you all for coming this morning.
Thank you, Sir Anthony, for those very informative words and very helpful insight into what lies ahead for the next few days. Thank you also for your very generous remarks at the outset. Well, I hope that everyone's ready now to be entertained by the rhythmic sounds of the Swanky Kitchen Band, who I see are lining up and joining us on the stage. Swanky's mission is to keep what is arguably the Caribbean's most endangered music genre alive. Dedicated to preserving traditional Cayman Islands kitchen dance music while keeping it fresh for a new generation, Swanky Kitchen Band has been the cultural flag bearer of the Cayman Islands since 2003. Swanky, over to you.
morning. Thank you for having us here. We are the Swanky Kitchen Band. This is Caribbean Blues. Ain't got no car, but I'm not worried about a thing. I ain't no star, but I'm not worried about a thing. I lost my job, but I'm not worried about a thing. My baby's gone. No, I'm not worried about a thing. Just walk a mile in my shoes. You have Caribbean blues. Yes, Caribbean. You give me limes, I will make some lemonade. And in hard times, I'll hold on to my faith, the sun and seas. My family and friends don't need no shrink or prescriptions with no end. My diagnosis, yes, it's true. I've got Caribbean blues. Yes, Caribbean blues. The world goes by faster than the speed of light, and all that's wrong is what they call it right. You mad at me 'cause I live a simple life, don't need no fame, and all that fuss and strife can be yours if you choose some Caribbean blues. Yes, Caribbean blues. Caribbean blues. Yes, Caribbean blues. Okay, let's see who is here. Any Bermuda blues, any Bayesian blues, any Bahamian blues. How about Jamaican blues? It can be yours if you choose some Caribbean blues. Yes, Caribbean. How about TCI blues? Any Guyanese blues? How about the Belize blues? Any Trini blues? It can be yours if you choose some Caribbean blues. Yes, Caribbean blues. How about Haitian blues? How about the Cuban blues? How about St. Lucian blues? Cayman Islands blues. It can be yours if you choose some Caribbean blues. Yes, Caribbean blues. Caribbean blues. Yes, Caribbean blues. Thank you so much. Before we go, we just like to thank you for having us here. Again, we are the Swanky Kitchen Band. And right now we're going to tell you about where we get our name from, which is one of our most famous drinks. It's called Swanky. And you need a civil orange or a lime and some water and another very important ingredient. So listen up and you'll learn. Mix my Swanky with brown sugar. Mix my Swanky with brown sugar. Mix my Swanky with
Wow. Well, our thanks certainly to the wonderful Swanky for bringing their authentic and unique brand of kitchen dance music to the Ritz Carlton this morning. They've just demonstrated for us all just why they're known as the musical guardians of Caymanian culture. Thank you again to Swanky. Perhaps another round of applause. As we approach the closure of the opening session of the conference, I'd like to express our thanks in particular to the following. The visiting heads of judiciaries, especially President Saunders and his executive assistant, Deborah Gibbs, who corresponded closely with and provided invaluable information and advice to our conference secretariat. Acting Governor, thank you for your kind words and for bringing focus to the importance of the application of technology, particularly in the context of COVID-19. The Honourable Premier, who has so graciously made it a priority to be with us this morning, given his busy schedule and delivered remarks that you've heard to us. We thank also other members of the Cabinet, members of the Cayman Islands Judiciary and the broader legal fraternity, especially legal stalwarts such as Mr. Ramon Alberga QC, among others, and the Cayman Islands Legal Practitioners Association members here with us, who all took their time to be with us this morning. A special thanks also to the Reverend Dr. Yvette Noble Bloomfield for blessing the conference. I'd like to echo Sir Anthony's thanks to the senior members of the Judicial Administration led by Suzanne Bothwell and all those who gave of their time to assist in making this conference a success, despite their other pressing duties and personal commitments, whilst all the time having to contend with COVID. It was a superb team effort on the part of everybody. We would like to especially mention the Chief Marshal, Joseph Ebanks, who went beyond the call of duty to assist our guests. At this point, we should thank the government's protocol officers, Melanie King and Derek Ebanks, for their kind assistance in welcoming our visitors. We also thank Melanie for arranging the loan of the flags, without which the ceremony this morning would not have been the same. We also thank the Parliament for so kindly loaning the flags that are part of their ongoing display there. Once again, the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service responded enthusiastically and energetically in ensuring that our visitors enjoyed maximum security, notably Miss Cassandra Mitchell, who coordinated the police response. Our thanks also to the Ritz Carlton, especially Lavinia Pomian and Tamara Davis, who were both splendid in responding, always professionally and in a timely way, from booking our guests to assisting in staging events at the hotel. We thank the Ritz Carlton as well for meeting us on the budget side. Our thanks also to Eric Nicholson for so ably leading us in singing the national anthem. Last but by no means least, I would like to express our thanks to our conference chair, Sir Anthony Smelly QC, not only for hosting this conference, but also for his as ever insightful and thoughtful remarks in expanding on the conference theme a little while ago. To close this ceremony, Ms. Karen Eady, accompanied by Swanky, will shortly be performing a special rendition of the Cayman Islands national song. So I would now invite Karen Eady and Swanky to do that for us, please. Just Karen minus Swanky. Thank you, Karen.
Oh, land of
Thank you again, Karen. There will now be a brief reception in the lobby with the heads of Judiciary first invited to gather for official photographs. At 10:25 a.m., the heads of Judiciary are invited to meet for the first of the closed sessions in the Capella meeting room, with the reception continuing until 10:45 a.m. for other distinguished guests. Thank you all very much. Invite them to the stairway. Yes. Okay. Outside. Yeah. Okay. Just a reminder that the reception will be the brief reception will be outside in the stairwell. Stairwell.